So the angles that are important for taking cake photography are three important angles that I keep insisting my students to take, where you will be able to showcase maximum output of whatever you've done on the cake. So the first three important angles will be the eye level. The eye level is the level in which the cake is placed, and it is not your eye level because you could be standing a little taller than the table in which the cake is kept. So you need to get your camera right down to the level of the cake. Now if you have a taller cake, the eye level will be anywhere in that particular stretch, but then right in the middle of the height of the cake will be the right place for keeping the eye level. And when you are placing the eye level, if you have a cake that is placed here, and the camera should be right parallel to the surface of the cake. Now if you are going to, if this is a cake and if you are going to move ahead and then keep the camera, your camera should not be tilting in different ways. It has to be just right parallel, so you have the right shape of the cake. Because if you're going to tilt your camera standing right in front of the cake, now your cake, instead of being in a cylindrical shape, it is going to turn boat shape, or it is going to look tapered on the top. And that angle of holding the camera standing right in front of the cake is very important. Then, and when you are doing that, you can ensure like you actually made the cake with the straight sides, and then it is standing very tall and cylindrical. But in the photo, if it is not going to turn out to be a straight cylinder, then you should understand that you're holding the camera or your phone a little differently, and so you're not able to get a cylindrical view of your cake in that particular frame. So it is very important to know that you have to hold the camera parallel to the surface of the cake and then right in front of the cake. Now if it is a tall cake, and then you can be anywhere between the height of the cake, predominantly on the center. So that way, that is the eye level. And then the second angle that I feel is very important for taking photos is the bird eye. Bird eye is when the bird flies, the direction in which it sees the earth, it cannot see right down. What birds see is that view which is almost at a 45-degree angle, and that is what it sees as it flies, and so we call it bird's eye. Now when you have to take a bird's eye, what you need to keep in mind is there is equal importance to the sides of the cake and then the top of the cake as well. Now if you have a decoration that you've done on the top, like maybe you just maybe created a pond or a park on the top, like there are a lot of elements. But if you're going to take a completely top view, there are certain things like maybe there is a dog playing around there, and then there is a duck in the pond, and then you've maybe created a farmhouse. And if you're going to completely go on top, then you're not able to actually show that something is sitting there if you go completely on top. Now if you're going to go at an angle, say maybe an 80 degrees, and still you're not able to show the features on the face of the elements that you've placed on the cake. So for you to be able to understand which is the best bird eye angle that you can take. Now because if you have to take a bird eye, now this is the cake and you're going to hold the camera tilted at an angle. This will be the bird eye. So this will be the camera here, which I'm actually going to show to you, so you don't have to worry if this holding the hands and showing you is a little confusing at the moment. But for you to understand, if this is the cake and that is the camera for the eye level, for the bird eye, you have to take it a little above and then tilt the camera towards the cake. Now how much tilting is allowed is what we need to understand. Now as you tilt and then take the shots at different slanted angles by holding your camera, now you have to understand, when you see the output, the sides of the cake and then the top of the cake will have equal visibility, and that is the angle in which you will be holding the camera right in front, standing in front of the cake and then holding the camera. When you take the picture, you need to understand, or you need to look through the picture, so you know that the sides of the cake and the top of the cake have equal size portion in the picture. So you know that you're showing it is a cake and what is the height of the cake, and you're also showing the elements on top of the cake, and then you have a clearer picture. Now how close you can go and how far you have to stay from the cake to take the bird eye is also another important thing, because you know that there's an element on top and you want to give like some good visibility. So you've done like a lot of work on the top, and then you want to just go really very close and take the bird eye, then the shape of the cake will not be like really very clear. So a proper bird eye, you have to be a little away, and then there has to be space on the cake on the either side, the left and the right side of the cake, and then a good amount of space on the top. So this space on all three sides, which is on both the sides of the cake and then on the top, is very important. Below the cake, you don't need so much space, but then you have to step back and then take a picture. You could crop it up later, but then going very near is again going to not make your cake look cylindrical, and that is very important. To step back and take a picture and then crop it to make it look like it is in a close-up view instead of you moving very close to the cake and then taking picture. For close-up shots, they are different, but for a bird eye where you want the view of the cake of both the sides and the top to have equal visibility, step back and ensure in which angle you need to take and what angle that you can just tilt your camera or the phone, and so you have equal visibility for the sides and the top. Now the last angle is the dead top. Dead top is your cake is on the table and you hold your camera right on top, so it just focuses and has the only circle frame of that particular cake. Now whatever is there, like for what cakes do you need to take a dead top? Like maybe you have a rosettes cake and then there is rosettes all around on the top, or then maybe you have done painting on the top, or then there are different things, like maybe you did a nice piping around and then maybe you made a waterfall and then that is just flowing and there are some fishes or certain things that are there which you think only the top angle needs to be there to show exactly what you've done on top of the cake. Then you do a dead top. In the dead top, try to have good amount of space around on the cake and make sure the boards are also in a perfect circle and then the cake is also in a perfect circle, so you have everything covered on the top. Then obviously while taking the pictures using your camera or your phone, you have to ensure that the focus is there, and that obviously in the phones it could take care, and in the camera if you're using and if you have autofocus it could still take care. But if you're going to use manual focus, make sure that the image is in proper focus so you have really bright pictures of what you want to exactly focus is there and it is not blurry. That is very important. And the extra angles that you can consider after taking the eye level, bird eye and the dead top is your close-up shots. Now you worked on certain very important elements that are sitting on top, like maybe you made ruffles and then maybe you added some golden edges to your ruffles and then you want that to be shown, and then maybe you worked on some textures and then you want that to be shown. You've placed some scenes on top of your cake, like your pigs in the puddle, or then there is a cow and some some grass there, and maybe you made some barn house and then there is horse there. You can go very close and then take pictures of the close-up shots. And one very important close-up is one half of the cake seen through, and that can be a bird eye. A bird eye's half of the cake, like even 3/4 of the cake, like quarter portion of the cake, not in the frame, but then there is a bird eye. That will show the right side of the cake where the light falls through and it is really bright, and you have certain elements. You're just forcing the viewer of your picture to focus on your cake and nothing else, and there is nothing extra that is there. You are just asking them to, hey, look at my cake. And so one half cut and the other half in the frame on a bird eye is one beautiful example of taking a close-up. Other than that, you could just go close and make sure you're capturing all the work that you've done in that particular cake. So in total, you could have a minimum of 3 angles for your cake, and then the fourth one can be the close-up in the bird eye where one part is cut. That will be the fourth one. And in addition to that, you can take a lot of close-up shots of the elements that you have made for the cake. And working with these angles for every cake is important because they are going to make your portfolio, and that is what we are going to do. And now I'm actually going to take the pictures and then show the different angles using the camera and the phone as well.